For sure. People say this all the time, but it's really true. Obviously, he's really someone I don't feel that needs an introduction. That's what happens when you're dealing with legends, really. But because I am such a fan myself and a wannabe musician on the side, I really couldn't miss out on this opportunity. And despite the challenge, it's been a real honor to be able to put some pen to paper for the occasion, an introduction of sorts. It's hard to talk about Mike Hosty. Even he himself described, he said himself, if musical genres were different animal species, his music might be something like a platypus. So this is my challenge, and the thought I had was to reach out to my fellow musician friends, especially folks in the Norman area, to help me craft the following. And if he had his kit here, I'd ask for a drum roll. But Mike Hosty, this is what I got back. Mike Hosty is the Oklahoma sound. He's a witty singing cyclone of the blues, jazz, swing, western, folk, funk, red dirt. On top of Groucho Marx, T-Bone, and Willie, if you listen closely enough, one might hear the oaky echoes of Woody Guthrie, J.J. Cale, Ray Wiley Hubbard, the Gap Band, and even, heck, Will Rogers himself. All wrapped up together in a singular and unique style. That's with the sounds of dusty dancing boots, ancient beating heartbeats, fresh funky grooves, and a freaking kazoo. That's right, a kazoo. He's surprising, he's creative, he's an original, one-of-a-kind, one-man band that has influenced countless of other musicians throughout his over 30-year songwriting and touring career, averaging at around 250 shows a year. Can't do math, but that's amazing. Hope someone has done the math since he started. Over the time, he's built up the most valuable and most difficult thing to do, a reputation of consistency. He's vaudeville, but he's earnest, satirical, but hopeful, pure, raw, and open talent. You cannot pin it down, nor can you even think to attempt to duplicate it. It is a true feat, and he's done the near impossible, which is this: there's no one else that sounds like or puts a show like Mike Hosty, other than Mike Hosty. Really, I think I'm almost done. I could go an hour more, but really what I think, and it comes across clearly in the film, that's not even the most impressive part, in my opinion. As it turns out, in a surprising twist, Mike Hosty is a decent human being. He's caring, he's kind, trustworthy, and giving. He thinks of others. He wants people to be happy, to have fun, to laugh, to be optimistic, to enjoy life. And he works hard to, as Woody Guthrie says, keep the hoping machines running. This is made evident by the feeling he gives us both on stage and now on the screen of getting to do something you truly love over and over again. And we are so thankful he keeps that machine running for us all. Please help me welcome Mike Hosty alongside the director, producer, editor, Christopher Fitzpatrick, who also has so evidently poured so much time, talent, and heart to this beautiful film and allowed us to journey alongside him as both old and new, genuine fans. Please help me welcome Christopher. Thanks so much. We want to take some time for some Q&As, think of questions. There'll be time to ask those. Mike has a gig here in a few minutes, so we want to be sensitive to that.
We hope.
But I want to start out, it's a bit cliche, but I always think it's a good place to start. Love to both of you talk about, paint the picture of how this film came to be.
Yeah, I'll start on that. It's kind of fascinating. I was trying to think of the name of the bar. Scott, where are you? Hargrove. Did you come up with the name of the bar that we talked about today? No? No? Well, and there was a bar in Tulsa, if somebody can remember from our group. we had a fantasy football draft, and we saw that Hosty was playing August of 2016, and we all,
So it's 18th in Boston.
18th in Boston, huh? Mercury Lounge? Does that sound right?
Was a part of fantasy football?
Wait, what was that question?
Mike was a part of a fantasy.
Well, no, let me fill in the gaps here.
Okay,
So-
so I'm just trying to get the whole picture.
Oh, I think we're gonna have some fun with you in a little bit. Okay, Mercury Lounge, 2016. We all showed up, and Mike was up on stage on a Saturday night, but he was by himself, and that was not normal. So I went up to Mike, pretty inebriated, as I recall. Don't recall much, but I remember asking him, hey, you're by yourself now, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, would you be interested in me doing a documentary? And he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Kind of like how he answered. And I've said this before, like, when Stoney LaRue asked if he could cover the song, he was like, yeah, whatever. And I don't think he thought anything would happen from it. But about 2 months later, I showed up to a gig in Denton, Texas, at Dan Silverleaf, and told anybody who could bring a cell phone or anything, because I had one camera and one lens at the time to start shooting. But that's where it started, and it took me 5+ years, and here we are.
Thank you. Mike, a question for you. I'm not sure if this resonates for you, but there seems to be a lot of comedians who turn out to be incredible musicians, and similarity, some of the funniest people I know in life happen to be musicians. I feel like you've gotten this question before, but do you see any connections, any intersections between comedy and music?
Oh, definitely, because especially when you're up and going off the, and really trying to connect with, it just, to the most, well, maybe, that's what I found.
Do you have a real answer to that question?
A real answer to the question? I always said it just because I was trying to waste time. And because you see a band that gets up there, come on, and then I was playing like 3-4 hour gigs. So to get through it, which is kind of the Tulsa sound, how they developed theirs, because they were in LA playing 4 or 5 hour gigs, so they just played slower. And that's where the sound came from, because you play through the songs too quick, you get done with them. But it was really, I'd stop, and then I'd start thinking about it, like, it's more fun. Just, you make them, they're dancing, and you gotta make them laugh, you gotta engage with them somehow. And really, it's just having fun in the space, and that's just one thing part of it, and I just like doing it.
And you accomplish it.
Yay!
Boom.
I've got a few questions. Any other questions in the audience? Now's your time. I don't think we have a mic, but if you want to speak up. Yes.
Mike, what was it like playing the deli in Norman and seeing the ebb and flow of the passing on of batons from crowd to crowd and year to year? Did you see it go up and down? Did you have a particularly favorite year? And what was it like when just watching that go on as you played there over the years?
It was 1977 at the Odyssey in Stoughton Village.
Wow.
But it comes in ebbs and flows, because some crowds are just different tastes of different people. The current taste of college campuses are cover bands and karaoke. So it's like, and tribute bands, and that's what they like to see. You'll notice in theaters there's a lot more of that instead of original local bands, which, but it goes in phases. And someday there'll be someone breaks out like a Hanson or something, and everybody goes like, they're from my town. And who else is like that from my town? And then they go see that, and then no one wants to see those other things. But it goes in ebbs and flows, and it's really contingent on what the venue's booking as well, because a lot of venues want money and people in the seats, and do they want, some band that doesn't draw, it doesn't make sense to have just for the art's sake, which is kind of why you kind of lament those clubs when they shut down. Those guys that go like, man, we didn't make any money last night, but we sure had fun. Because that's where it all happens, really. And but it's a different, but it's comes and goes, And right now it's in that phase because everybody comes out of, whatever the COVID and everything, came out and wanted to party. Like you just opened the door and they ran out. I want to sing, I want to dance, and I want to sing. And so they're still in that kind of phase right now.
I hope in 2003 you noticed a surge of drunkenness and rowdiness that was bar none to other eras.
I was going to say 2005.
Along those lines, you said for art's sake, I say Oklahoma is in the middle of everywhere, not necessarily nowhere. Could you maybe talk about, since you've been on the scene for so long, you helped create the scene, in your perspective, is there a sound that's, risen out of this place, Oklahoma? Is there a unique sound?
I think there's unique people, and because the sound is accessible from anywhere, but it's the people who make up, who live here. Because usually a band in Oklahoma is like, what do you play? I'll play the accordion. What do you play? I'll play the viola. And what do you play? Spoons? Let's do a band. And everybody sees, because there's not much. The benefit is not having a lot of people. And the more people you see, it gets more saturated. It becomes like Dallas or Austin. And if there's too many people, and you can't have those little pockets pop up of weirdness that Oklahoma does. I think that's the. But it's just the people who live here. It's just kind of an idea. Even with all businesses, like they're just going to make it work with whatever they got. Yeah. Theater, let's do it. You got a projector? Let's go. Come on. And they just put it together.
Yes.
In Oklahoma Breakdown, you talked about going to the river getting tore up. What river was it?
Whatever river you want, baby. No, it was when I was my 1/2 semester at St. Gregory's University in Shawnee. We'd go down to the river and burn it like a couch or pallets and stuff like that.
What was your obsession with fire that semester?
I don't know what it was. Yeah, like that Canadian bit. But we go down there and light something on fire and you just sit and drink and watch it. And then go like, man, those guys from OBU want to fight. And then you had some guy from Sulphur going, I'll go down there and get him. Yeah, but the whole song is just a combination of a whole bunch of different things that are all put together into one.
Who's Fred? Why are you in the back of this truck?
That's another long story. Fred had a yellow truck, and I think just one night I ended up coming back from somewhere, and it was the worst ride I've ever had. And it wasn't like partying or anything, it was just a memory of riding in this terrible truck. So that's like one of the patchworks of the song is just that experience. I thought tore up, and I thought, oh, truck. Oh yeah, Fred's truck. It's the first thing that came to my mind. It was a yellow Chevy. Terrible.
In the very back there?
Okay, so I know Chris, and I've seen Mike a bunch of times at the deli and everything. So my younger brother is 8 years younger, and so he lives out of town. He came in, he's like, have you heard of Mike Hosty? I was like, the trio. And he's like, I don't know, maybe the duo? And I was like, well, I think yes, it's the same Mike. We just saw him in Tulsa, and I was like, yes, I'm aware of Mike Hosty, and you know of him. Like, no shit, he's played in Norman for the last 30 years. So I know Chris, and I've met Mike just a few times, and just so excited to see this. So, thank you guys.
Thank you, Scott. I really appreciate that. Who's got? You want to point her out?
Yeah, in the far
I
back.
heard lady. Oh, yes.
Can you tell us who some of your musical influences are that you love?
I don't know if we can hear
Oh, maybe you need to come closer now. I want to do that to you.
Musical influences.
My musical influences?
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's my wife, ladies and gentlemen. Kelly Hosty. My muse. And, all sorts of things. So my record collection I got from my dad, I still have, and then all the things I like, but the T-Bone Walker and R.L. Burnside and that old blues kind of stuff that really stuck with me. And then one in particular, someone asked me the other night, was my love of the blues came from a guy from Greece. And he moved here with his brother. It was Basile. And with Oliopolis as a fortune teller. And he comes up to me one day and he talked like this, like, "Hey man, you're gonna be in my band." And I go, "Okay." And yeah, and I was a reverb brother for a short time. And 2 guitars and the drummer stood up and went like a cave. He goes, "Ah, you can play like a caveman, and we'll play blues music." And so, but he gave me all these, made me a mixtape, and he had this record collection from Europe that he had. And I sat around with all his friends and just, had Cokes and popcorn and stuff. Soda pops and stuff like that. I mean, s'mores. But, and just a bunch of blues and open tunings and stuff. And I was just 20, 21 years old. And it was just like, I learned more of the blues from a guy from Greece than anybody else. Then he kicked me out of the band. But after that, they go like, "Man, that's what's going to happen. Now you've made it after getting kicked out of the Reverb Brothers."
Yeah.
How did you come about when you make up songs? When somebody gives you a piece of paper with a few thoughts about somebody? I just remember being really impressed when someone handed you a piece of paper and it had 4 or 5 things written down, and you just came up with a song over the break.
Oh, well, I started doing birthday songs at the deli, I think, and because nobody was coming out, it was completely empty, and so I go like, "Hey, you want a song for your birthday?" And everybody sings "Happy Birthday." So I think just one night I thought like, well, just write 5 things, I'll just make up a song about you. And they go, and I just did it, and think about it, because the way I think about songs, I think of the second line first, so I already have the thing to rhyme. So, I don't know, it's just a weird way of thinking. So I go like, "Oh, lives in Midwest City." Okay. And then pity. Pity lives in New York City. And then come through with it. And so it really was just like that. I want to do something different than every band just saying "Happy Birthday." And I thought I could do a part. And then I recorded birthday songs for people. I used to record them. I still do. They send me stuff and I'll sit at home and make one up. And I used to mail a CD, but no one has a CD player anymore.
This is a question for Chris, actually.
Thanks.
I'm a big fan of the movie A Poem is a Naked Person by Les Blank, which is also an Oklahoma music documentary.
Okay.
So I was wondering if that film influenced you, or
I don't think I've ever. What's the name of it again?
A Poem is a Naked Person. There's actually a poster of it.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen that film.
You'll probably like it.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. Yeah, I've
Leon Russell.
yeah,
Leon Russell.
I've heard of. Yeah, I heard about this fairly recently, and it's something I haven't been able to track down. But no, I mean, I like Leon Russell a lot, and so I just, it's one of those movies that you get these like stacks of movies that you always, all right, I have to watch this. This is like on my 10 films to watch, but I haven't gotten to it yet.
Well, maybe we can follow that up. Since we're here, what are some films that maybe inspired both of you?
Films that inspired me. I mean, I can name my top films if you want. One of them is Anvil, the story of Anvil. If you haven't, anybody here seen that one? There's a little bit of that, a little bit of flavor of that in this film. That's just, I don't know, it's just like it just looks like a low rent, low budget film, but it took a lot of heart, and it's a lot of comedy involved in it, but you see the struggle, and that's part of this. There's a lot of comedy in it, but there's a lot of reality. As far as music documentaries, that's one. The Devil and Daniel Johnston is a fantastic music doc, and then just my favorite films of all time, like Midnight Cowboy. Doesn't really have anything to do with this film whatsoever. And then Pulp. Yeah. Pulp Fiction, for sure, and another one, the 2001: A Space Odyssey. I don't know how that got me prepared to make Oklahoma Breakdown, but somehow, some way.
Mike, what about you? Any films in particular? You talked about some music.
Movies? I don't know. I do flip through Netflix and see. I go like, I've watched all these. Let me get on Prime. Watched all these. I really like really terrible movies, like bad action movies or something that I'll be watching on TV, and my wife will go like, "What are you watching?" And I think the most recent was FDR was a werewolf. No, he was fighting werewolves. No, FDR, American Badass. That was the name of it. And the Nazis and the evil Axis were all werewolves trying to turn us into werewolves. And that's the kind of movies I like.
Sounds like one of yourself. In the back of the hat.
What's your order from Texadelphia?
That's a hippie chick salad and an unsweetened iced tea, but with honey mustard sauce on the side. No, and grapes.
Just wondering, he would order that every day when he was a college professor of mine. And I just wanted to ask what class you teach and what a little bit about, because you inspire a lot of the students that go there, and thank you for.
Oh, hey, thank you. Well, I teach the same too for the last couple years. It's just like music history classes and culture and how the culture intersects and trends. And then I point to trends that are happening in Tulsa and Oklahoma City to try to relate it to what's happening with them and tell them that how external things that you don't think affects music even more. If you just pay attention to things, you can tell, like, well, nobody's coming tonight. Or, like you see the, tornado coming.
Well, you're a lot cooler than you let on in class.
No, I intentionally didn't tell anybody that I played music. Yeah, we're flip-flops, but I didn't tell anybody I played music or anything. They go, Mr. Hosty?
I've never seen you play, so I'm coming tonight, so you better put on.
All right. Yeah. Well, I hope it's still going on. It was still raining. I don't know if it will be, but it's outside.
Did you have any artistic input to the documentary, or how did that work together?
No. I was told there's going to be car chases, lasers, and a kung fu fight. None of it happened. Thanks a lot, Fitzpatrick. No, he did it. One of Chris's friends actually said at that Phoenix Film Festival. It was the British guy.
Oh, just a filmmaker. He made he had a documentary there. Yeah.
Yeah, and he goes, and as he was talking, he sounded like a documentary. He goes, "How do you feel about the filmmaker potentially your entire life in his hands, playing the role of God?" And I looked at him and I said, "I don't know." Oh, I didn't. I just let Chris do what he did. He did a great job putting it together because it was his song.
Well, I will say thank you. Really appreciate that. I did. Mike basically never said anything. Never, said no to anything. He pretty much just said yes. Sometimes he's really hard to get a hold of because he's working on his craft. Like he's isolated, and that's what every good artist has to be like. He's not. You're never one to be like a slave to marketing and advertising, even though you were a failed advertising intern. But no, it's what made this thing perfect. Is like, you know, the cooperation is essential if you're going to do a documentary on somebody from start to finish, and then to dig into the stuff that's not easy to talk about. And then, and I've said this before, but having Mike's wife Kelly, you know, we really opened with all the home footage, and that was just, you know, the stuff that really tugs at the heart. You know, the personal stuff is impossible to tell without the cooperation of, you know, the people involved in it. And I also wasn't gonna do, you know, I guess for lack of a better term, a complete kiss-ass piece. Like, I was really gonna dig into the personal stuff if I could, and I wanted to connect with an audience, because a lot of people here have kids and they know what it's like to raise a child, and seeing those, you know, moments where Mike's, you know, playing a guitar and Liam's, you know, hearing the sound of it, and he's, you know, 6 months old. I mean, that's the stuff that I think about all the time when I think about, like, if I didn't have that footage, it just wouldn't quite be the same. And so having just the cooperation and the openness to, you know, the vulnerability, really, it's kind of, for me, made this, you know, special.
Yes, that's great.
Well, we had a fundraiser about a month and a half ago, so I'm still trying to finalize. You know, music rights are always just difficult. There's so many layers to it, and in getting the final rights to get distribution, you have to have everything taken care of. You know, not just festival rights. So there's a lot involved in that. It takes a lot of money, and you know, I put every dime, you know, of this film is my own, and so to not be completely drained financially, that's why we did a fundraiser to help raise funds to get rights to everything, or to get, you know, have a fair use lawyer check all these, you know, things off and say you're clear to use them. So we got about halfway there. I think we're trying to raise $25,000. We got about, not quite halfway, but about 10,000, and we did it one day, and it was incredible. And it was, you know, Mike was a part of it. I think I bawled like a baby when I was reading off every donor's name. I know a few of them are in here. But yeah, so we're still trying to get a little funding for that. But the goal is to get distribution so this can be seen everywhere, and people around the world, not just the United States, but people around the world, even British-speaking documentarians, will ask Mike those same questions, hopefully. But that's what I had in mind when I started this. I just, you know, more people need to know about Mike's, you know, musical, you know, background and his prowess and what he can do in front of an audience, which I've never seen in my life before, and don't ever expect to see it again. More people need to see this, because, you know, it's not just about music. I mean, like, you can take a date and go sit down and just not know anything about Mike Hosty, and you're going to have the time of your life, you know, and it doesn't matter where you are or what language you speak, you know, he's going to connect with you in somewhere. So I want everybody to have that opportunity.
How can people help with that?
Well, go to the website, oklahomabreakdown.com, and it's the first thing you see on there. And there's other stuff on there. If you click out of it, you can watch and see what the screenings are and more information about the film. Thank you. Awesome. Get those. Yeah, I love it. Not. Yeah, and it just got the information on there and can tell you what you can achieve if you donate. There's a lot of, you know, kind of fun prizes in there. One of them involves a Mike Hosty trio show, if you'd actually want to see that, because they've only played one time in the last 23 years, which was in Norman recently. So if you have that kind of collateral and you really want to donate, we had a reunion show in Norman. It was amazing. Is that going to be a problem?
No.
I think we're at
Just making sure.
time. You got a gate to go to. Thank you both.
We'll be in the lobby selling merch, t-shirts, posters. Thank you. This was very special.